Yo, 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 yo.
What's going on, everybody?
What's up? What's up?
It's good to see everybody today.
How you
Happy to
guys
have you
doing?
guys. Happy to have you guys with us.
Hey, Sheila. Hey, Rebecca.
Good morning, guys. Good morning, Trish, Sheila, Christy. Let's try this one again.
Good morning, Heather.
Heather
Hope
Marie.
you had a good birthday.
And Heather Marie Brown. What's going on, Rebecca? Nice to see everybody. What's up, Willie?
What it do, Willie?
Today we have a cool show. We have Colby Dupont. He's nominated for a few NECANN awards, but he's also a nominee for New England's Young Entrepreneur of the Year. And he also runs, presumably, Dupont Genetics, because that's his last name, the seed company. And also a grow supply place called Kannavox Superior Grow Supplies. But he'll come on, chat with us for a bit. And then we also have Steve Bloom. Steve Bloom has done so many things that I can't fit it all up on the screen ever.
I just got the funniest meme. It's kind of funny. Good morning, Rayanne. Good morning, Trish.
So, for those of you who may or may not recognize the name Steve Bloom, he's a longtime journalist and author with 32 years in the cannabis community. He's got 2 Centennial Media titles. He was editor-in-chief of 2 of them. And Marijuana Goes Mainstream and The Complete Guide to CBD. He was also publisher, or is publisher, of celebstoner.com, which is one of the leading sources for marijuana and celebrity news on the web since 2007. I could keep going on. He was also former editor for High Times, former editor-in-chief of Freedom Leaf magazine. He was co-author of Pop Culture, A to Z Guide for Stoner Language and Life, and Reefer Movie Madness, The Ultimate Stoner Film Guide. He got awards from Normal. He's appeared as moderators on panels all over the U.S. He's board member and co-organizer of the annual NYC Canvas Parade and Rally.
So
And a whole bunch of stuff, including author of Video Invaders and Watch Out for the Little Guys, and founder. He also is the founder and commissioner of the New York Media Softball League. He also is founder and organizer of the Teapot Party with Willie Nelson that they made in 2009.
Say can't hear you. You gotta turn up your mic.
Trying to turn it up. Is this a little better? Maybe if I talk louder. How's that though? Can't hear me at all.
Can't hear you, Mike.
I did turn up the volume. Is that still not?
The mic's now messed up. Uh-oh. SpaghettiOs. It says better.
Yeah, I cranked it up a little bit. I can turn it up some more. That's probably a little better now. Way better. Good. So yeah, Colby Dupont and Steve Bloom are coming on. So that should be cool. A seeds guy coming on. Maybe he'll throw some seeds your way.
He better throw some seeds my way. He better. Nah, I'm playing. Hopefully he do. Hopefully.
Yeah, I think the general thing about these microphones is like just turn everything all the way up. And then it's
blasting in your ear and then it's like, wait, turn it down.
But we're really happy everyone's here. Chantal.
Eric needs coffee. Yeah, I Actually, I didn't take my pills. That's why I'm so sluggish.
You want to go get them?
Still gonna take like 30 minutes to get up, but
I think someday I'm gonna auction off that microphone that you are like rubbing up against your body every day when you go wear that. I'm not sure, but I think Chantal just automatically thought that we were doing a sea creature contest and was like, sea moss.
no, she's talking about the pills that I take.
Oh, the pills that you take are sea moss pills. I understand now. Thanks for sharing and liking the stream, everyone. Oh, and Steve's watching. Steve's like, glad they fixed that audio before I got on. I feel like with Steve's credits, and Eric will be right back. I feel like with Steve's credits that Steve should be having a show that we're lucky enough to be on.
Woo!
Yeah, Chantal, for a long time we were doing daily giveaways.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to get you some of the jam. Let you try it. It's an infused jam. I think you'll like it.
What's yuck, Rebecca?
You have to win the contest. So
anyway, we're
you got one contest today. It's only for you.
well, so
Look, you're really like, oh shit, y'all doing a jam. I still ain't won. I knew Willie was gonna say something. I was just waiting.
Why don't we do another contest for today for giving away a ticket to your birthday party?
Ticket to my birthday party.
Why don't we do that? I think.
Well, that depends. Cause it's got to be this is a pretty important ticket. It's only a limited number.
Very limited.
The I guess whoever can donate the most to the PS5 fund, that definitely might up your chances of getting the ticket.
So actually, this instead of doing daily contests, maybe like why don't we do it where it's a raffle, because you're a charity now. You have your own charity.
Yeah.
Which we've been hesitant to start talking about, but I think that's going to be getting talked about a lot more soon. And I think that we maybe instead of just doing a daily guest in the comments, maybe we do something.
Yeah, well, y'all got to be actively doing things for me, because y'all want to get in this party.
Show everyone. I don't think you've. Have you worn that sweatshirt much on the show? Not too much.
Probably twice.
It's pretty dope.
Yeah, so PS5 fund, applications, sugar mamas. Submit your applications. Wink, wink. Got about now.
So because Sheila has an astute memory,
put the tip jar link up for Eric's PlayStation. Well, I'll make a wish list on Amazon. Y'all can.
Well, but if you get the tip jar, then everyone can contribute a little bit toward it.
Here's your tip jar. Who's contributing first?
I can do a tip jar.
Let's do something for Eric's charity.
That's what I'm saying.
Come to Newport, you'll find plenty.
Plenty of what?
Oh, she's talking about sugar mamas.
Plenty of jam.
She's talking about sugar mamas for my PlayStation 5.
Oh, I could use a Chantal, are there any sugar mamas up there for me?
Do you hear he's saying your name right, Chantal?
Am I saying it right? I'm not.
He's not saying it wrong. Like everybody say Chantal.
I don't know who would say Chantal. It's
Chantal.
It's not.
But people just naturally say that because
T-A-I-L.
that's what it is. That's normally what the name is, Chantal.
Chantal, do any of those sugar mamas like white boys up there? Just bring the show to a screeching halt. So yeah, in just a few minutes we're gonna have Colby Dupont on, and so we're Somehow I don't think getting a PlayStation would help a charity.
Bullshit. You want to know how? Because if I'm happy, then the charity's happy. So if the head of the charity ain't happy, then the charity's not happy. That's how this works, my buddy. Sorry to say, Willie, but hey, if no place. Look, it's just like a game room. Like every house has a game room. That's an important part of the house for the kids. For the getaway.
No, but here's what
there's
I say.
There's a workroom.
Willie has a good point, though. We should, if we're going to raise money for your PlayStation, it shouldn't be through your charity. It should just.
No, it's not going to be through the charity, but the charity is going to.
The charity will intrinsically benefit.
I'm just playing. I'm going to buy my own PlayStation. I'm going to just get a girlfriend. My charity don't need to buy me the PlayStation. I got to find other ways.
Today's tie is a Versace. For those of you that are no longer keeping track of that stuff, tie tricks is no longer.
That's what I'm finna do. Chantel said, "Go on Tinder. Say you're looking for sugar mama for PS5. I'm sure you'll get plenty of offers." So I'm finna go on Tinder and make my bio say PS5 only. Working for PS5. Working to get a PS5. Any offers? And I'm gonna put a little chocolate bar next to it. Lordy.
Well, thanks for everyone for liking and sharing the show so far. We appreciate it, and we see you guys.
Sorry, every day we have to talk about
Thanks,
applications for a sugar mama all the way up into the PS5. Sorry, it's gonna happen.
Thanks, Jack.
We're gonna talk about Black Lives Matter, and we're gonna talk about my PS5. Those are two important things going on right now that needs to be addressed, and we will make sure we address them. Period. Not comparing the two, but I'm just saying, in terms of priorities for me, just making sure Black Lives Matter and make sure my PS5 get picked up on time.
It's clearly the PS5 is a big deal. Willie is asking if you're into swinging, which I think would mean that you would
like on a swing in a park. Sure, I love to swing on a swing in a park. Who doesn't? You know how when you're going back and forth and you jump and sometimes you fall awkward.
Well, anyone that falls awkward, maybe they're not into swinging. But so maybe it's a valid question. Because maybe you're not into swinging. On a swing,
of course.
But you might not be if you fell off and you like hurt yourself.
Exactly. Who would want to do that?
Because Willie's saying he doesn't know many sugar mamas, but he knows a few daddies. Just say no.
Hey Willie, we have this thing. It's called a block button, and you know you've already had a few strikes that I can remember. So we're gonna take what you just said, that comment, the one that says don't know any sugar mamas, but know a few daddies. Just we're gonna put that little comment you took. We're just gonna put it right in this box. You see this box right here? It's like a little box about that tall. We're going to put that right in there. We're going to stuff it down at the bottom. We're going to close the box. We're going to tape it. And then we're going to take this box and we're going to throw it. And you're never going to see this box again. Because if we do see this box again with this comment, there's going to be some issues.
So I do have to say shout out to Trish. Because Trish lives in the middle of the country. Trish has been very vocal as best that she can about Black Lives Matter, and
shout out to Trish.
And
thank you.
She lives around so many people and she knows a lot of people that she gets a lot of abuse on her Facebook wall because a lot of the people she knows are not down with that. So she posted something about the U.S. flag and NASCAR only flying the U.S. flag, and a whole bunch of people came on her wall and were talking about the Confederate flag, and she was just saying she had to use the block button for the first time.
Hey Trish, if you need me, you can just call.
When he says call, he means message him and he'll come and try to help on your wall. Because if you try to call him, he's probably not going to pick up. So that it's crystal clear. Because then she's going to be like, he said to call, and why doesn't he pick up? Because Eric doesn't. I'm going to enjoy.
Funny.
I don't understand cookies that don't have like enough chocolate chips that you can barely see them. That's stupid.
I don't understand fake cookies. Them ain't real.
Well, it's Famous Amos. It's supposed to be real.
Them ain't real cookies. Them is not real cookies. Them cookies is made to last forever. Them is gonna be, look at these cookies is gonna be in MRE boxes, and in 50 years they gonna be like, yo, I got this MRE box, and it got cookies in it. You wanna try it? They were like, damn, them cookies still good. Yeah, why wouldn't they be?
The ones in MREs are higher quality than this, I think. Good morning, good morning, Sarah.
Good morning, Sarah.
I always feel like when Sarah comes into the audience, she should tell us if her husband is listening or not.
Why? Because you want to say flirty things?
Mm-hmm. Maybe.
Wow, you are a home wrecker. That's what they call home.
I'm an apartment wrecker.
I'm an apartment wrecker.
I don't wreck homes, just apartments.
Only apartments, even 3-bedroom apartments. Hey, everybody got
3-bedroom.
Lordy Lord.
And get some.
Oh, I gotta share this.
Just line up the camera. Make it all look good.
I'll be there. Looks like Cookie Crisp cereal. Ugh, Cookie Crisp cereal was so nasty.
I have to admit, out of all of the childhood cereals, that Cookie Crisp is not up there anymore. It's gone way downhill. It used to be good when we were kids.
There was a lot of cereals that was good when you were a kid, and then they just disappear off the face of the earth. Oh Lordy, please turn that down. I do not like hearing myself on camera.
Hey Colby, what's going on?
What's going on?
My man is got us struggling.
Yeah, if you can turn on the volume on the
Wow.
show that you're watching.
Sheesh.
Yeah, because people can at least hear you. I'm about to switch over to you. Unfortunately, because we're so low tech that
Is that good?
yeah, wherever you were watching the show up until now, as long as that's muted, we're good.
Yeah, no, I needed it. First Zoom on here.
Colby, thanks so much, man, for joining us today. We're really lucky to have you. How you doing?
Yeah, it's I'm doing good. It's a pleasure. Nice to meet you guys on video. Thanks for having me on the show.
All right, nice to meet you, man.
Yeah, so Colby, and I'm realizing you're I'm just going to adjust a title real quick here because it's like a little bit off, a little bit weird. So, dude, you've been nominated for like a whole bunch of NECANN awards.
I was nominated for national or local kid gone national, New England's young entrepreneur of the year, and New Hampshire cannabis activist of the year.
That's pretty sweet. So tell us, because I know I have up on the screen that you, I'm assuming own Dupont Genetics. Your last name's Dupont.
Yep. I've been doing that. I've been breeding for about 13, 14 years. I was diagnosed when I was like 13 with a rare stomach condition.
Okay.
Down in Mass General, and it's basically just like acid and pruning of the lining of the stomach. So that helps with my indigestion, nausea, eating, staying, gaining weight, stuff like that. So I got into that, tried to get my medical license, and there was nothing in New Hampshire at the time, back in 2007, And so I started doing research, moved out to California, started a dispensary, did a delivery service for like a year, and then I ended up coming back out to the East Coast. And my dad, was like, "You got to stay out here, do your thing out here. Like, I don't want to leave. If you leave, I'm going." So I was like, "I'm not leaving my family." And basically, he ended up passing away a couple years after that. And then, yeah, I've just been following my dreams and doing what I do, not letting anyone stop me, and doing everything legit. And now I have 2 little boys and a family and a house and a fiance, and can't beat that.
Well, happy belated Father's Day.
Thank you.
So are you these days? Are you in New Hampshire, or is that where you're?
I live in New Hampshire. Yes.
Okay, and is that where the genetics company is as well, or are you out? Is that out of a different state?
That's like out of different headquarters.
Gotcha.
We have Kannavox also, which my partner Chris Masters, he owns Biovant, and that's one of the biggest like AG, commercial AG products. So I collaborated with him to create Kannavox. We have full grow supplies, from LED lights all the way to fabric pots, cocoa core, everything, nutrients line, additives. So, filters, ducting, anything anything in a hydro store, we so we got grow tents, all that.
That's awesome. And I think because there's probably a lot of customers out there that like when they figure out the right recipe for, let's say, like their indoor sealed garden grow, you're dealing with like a million different manufacturers and you're getting stuff in from different places. And it must be nice for some people to have like a little bit of peace of mind that you can buy everything from one place, and then presumably because you guys have vetted it out, it all works together.
You're going to get the support from us, and that's the biggest thing in this industry is having that backing. Like a lot of these other companies, they do have good customer support, everything. It's just we have lowest salt index in our, base nutrients, and then everything in our additives is like completely organic and derived from like exactly what it's supposed to be.
So with a lower salt index, does that like help like relieve some of the burden on flushing and maybe help like
it helps with like xylem, phloem. It's the transfer of nutrients from like into the leaf and then using the energy back out of the leaf. You're trying to, like put that whole process to like rest, and basically, you want to, instead of trimming off a dead leaf, you want to trim off a healthy leaf and keep that phloem and xylem like just going. So that's the biggest thing, is keeping photosynthesis going. You can basically manipulate the plant structures with different, NPK ratios, obviously, and whatnot, and light cycles and all that. So, the oxygen you get to your roots, everything like that is the main thing. Like cannabis likes 80% oxygen to the roots. So a lot of people don't know that, and they overwater. So that's why I do a lot of aeroponic growing. It's a lot faster, easier to clean, stuff like that.
Yeah, I also find a lot of people like they seem to not worry too much about light hitting the roots, especially like when they're young. Like I see people use like clear solo cups instead of like colored ones to start their.
Yeah, basically you'll just have like light pruning, you know what I mean? Like it just won't come to the edge of the cup and wrap around. Like it'll just kind of stop. Basically the same as like air pruning or something like that. It's just the roots don't like to grow in light. They will grow in a little bit of light. Like a lot of the aeroponic systems are white. So you got to think they have to be somewhat transparent to the light. So as long as you have a dark zone, the right, 50, 60 degree like root zone temp, you'll be good in aeroponics. But you just need to keep a constant flow, and like make sure you got the right spray schedule, because like I'll let my roots hang for like 15 minutes, sometimes 30 minutes dry, and then mist them for like 30, 15 minutes
Yep.
with a spray nozzle, no heavy drops, or it beats the roots up too much and you get a lot of stunting going on, especially in aeroponics when your turnover rates are so fast. You don't want anything to stunt a plant.
Right. And so is that sort of your main growing methodology these days, is aeroponics?
Aeroponics is my main, it's always been hydroponic.
Yep.
Like coco core or deep water culture, stuff like that, or flood trays. Coco core is one of my favorites. If you're hand watering, that's when you get your best. Your best. You're just not going to get any more quality than hand watering. That way you can individually, give each plant what it needs specifically. So that's my favorite.
So
And
would you?
Yeah.
So does that mean you'd for your normal home grower sized grow? So would you recommend that if people are going to go with a non-soil medium like Coco Noir and Perlite, let's say, that they sort of stick with that as opposed, because some of the other ones I know you can get really good results, from aeroponics and from deep water culture, but it also sort of increases the complexity of it, right? But it sounds like you recommend if you're on a smaller grower, you should just do hand watering anyway, since you're saying you're going to get the best quality out of it, and it's
if you have the time to, you know what I mean. It depends on the size of your pots and the parameters that you run in your room. Obviously is going to perspirate different. You're going to have different, dew points in your room and condensation. So you have to play a big factor of whether you're using HPS lights, LEDs, how much heat are those putting off? How much are those making, how much are the plants transpiring into your room? How much do you have to do air changes? You have to check a lot more buffer with soil and cocoa than say deep water aeroponics. You just have to have a constant monitor on the aeroponic system, as where when you're doing hand watering, you have to check your runoff. So you're going to want to, like, every 3-4 weeks, check your runoff. Like, I do a heavy flush and then collect that in a bucket and run it off, see what your pH is in your actual medium, because you can't do that as easy as you can in a water-based, where you can just check it in your reservoir.
And when you're checking your pH like that, do you care also about, and I guess maybe, well, so do you care also about your ppms at that point too, or not really? Because
we do, yeah. I usually like to run like around like 750, 550 early veg to like 750, 900s, depending on what strain it is, ppm and veg. And sometimes some of my strains, like I have an African strain that will take 1900 ppm all day, like all day for the last 4 weeks. It's insane. But usually it's like, 1200 ppm is like an good average range for bloom phase. And then you got to do like your 2-week flush and get all the salt out. And that's why Kannavox has a low salt index. A lot of companies like to use a lot of salts because it dries the plant out, allowing you to water more, but it requires you to water more, which in the long run ultimately makes you use more of their product.
Right. So, so it's interesting because I hear you say a 2-week flush, and I find that a lot of people stick with either a 1-week flush, and there's even a lot of people that I find aren't really doing too much of a focus on flushing, even when they are using salt-based nutrients. So in your experience, when people aren't focusing on a flush, like what are some of the maybe negatives that can, that you can experience if you're not doing a good flush?
You're gonna get a very dense, hard, dry bud or flower. I mean, personally, I don't like that. I like something that's more floral, earthy, green, got some like grind to it, like not something that's just gonna turn to powder when you turn it in your grinder. You know what I mean?
Right.
I want something poured out on the table and it looks alive, like kinetic sand or something.
Well,
So
and I think even these days you're like licensed, profit making cannabis businesses. They're not even necessarily measuring their like how well they're doing by like yield of flower per square foot or per watt. It's actually how much oil that they're pressing out of those plants.
right,
So
it comes down to trichome size and how much like oil production is at. That's the biggest focus right now in the medical field and all these medical facilities I've been dealing with, is that they're trying to implement a genetics that not necessarily has the terpenes or the flavonoids. They're looking at the CBG, the CBD, the THC, and the actual size of the trichome on the flower now, because ultimately the bigger the trichome on the flower, you're going to have a better ratio of oil to plant. So and that's what the labs want, and that's what the consumers want for the salves, and that's how you're going to get it into the stores and white label it and put it in box stores. Basically that's the only way to do it.
yeah, so Eric is actually starting his first legal home grow in the next week or two.
Congrats.
So he's been trying to figure out some genetics, but also just trying to obviously.
Yeah, I'll hook you up here. Don't worry.
I appreciate that, man. Yeah, sorry, I was sharing the show.
No, hit me up whenever. I'm always down. Anyone who's watching, that's what I do. So.
For real? So you gonna help me set up then?
Yeah, I'll come out, help you set up. You want to do a setup.
You growing right now? You growing some weed right now?
I got a facility in Maine that's growing. Green Roots Company. They grow organic.
Do you grow personally? I mean,
Well, hold on. He lives in New
Me?
Hampshire. He lives in New Hampshire, so it's not legal.
New Hampshire is not a grow legal state, so no, I grow out of state.
got you.
And the headquarters we have for Kannavox is in Missouri, so that's like Cape Girardeau down there.
And
It's like right in the middle of Missouri.
And I think
We
Missouri
just got
is
licensed for seed production for hemp and flower this year.
nice.
So
That's awesome.
that's awesome. We just got our permits.
Congratulations.
Chris did.
Yeah, I know that Missouri, at least from the THC side, is still kind of like slow to get there. So the Kannavox is a supply,
There's going to be a big
supply company.
commerce. Like that's where the commercials, like the Midwest, is going to be like the mecca. That's where all the trucks are, the highways. Like they're looking at more commercial interstate transport out in the Midwest, and that's what's gonna really thrive. So
That's awesome.
and then out in California, it's gonna be the craft tier growers who are doing LED grows, and those are gonna be holding the $4,000 pounds, and cannabis is projected to go to 10,000 a pound, like for like craft cannabis, like designer cannabis.
Really?
Yep.
Wow.
I mean, the demand is still there for it. I mean, you can still pay $600 a pound, and $600 an ounce in the right spot,
That's
for
true.
the right flower.
Yeah.
So,
No, I mean that. Well, I suppose that's good news for folks that are still trying to start grow operations.
600 an ounce.
Well,
Can't
for
do
really,
it.
really, really good
it
stuff.
happens. It
Look, let me
happens.
tell you. Unless that weed was grown on the moon and got some nutrients from another planet, I'm not paying 600 for no ounce, my brother.
Nope. That seed in it and see away.
I'll just buy like a gram of it and smoke a blunt of it, but I'm not gonna buy. buy a whole ounce for no 600.
Yeah,
Nah,
but then your
it's gotta
gram
be-
might be like $40.
That's fine. I'll take that over 600.
Yeah,
I'll
you're
waste.
saying,
I'll overpay for a gram just to have and try a blunt and say that I did it before. Same way I've bought one of those gold leaf wraps. I used to buy those gold. What are those things called? Shrine gold leaves. I used to buy those all the time when I smoked. When I like, if we won, I smoke like one of those, and I make it like like a nice little thing. But like that was the only time I spent money when I was trying to be super for a special time.
Right,
that's
yeah.
how I would treat that if I was to buy a gram of $600 ounces of weed.
Oh yeah,
I'm definitely
more in
going.
the cities, like New York City, stuff like that. That they're getting. It's more black market. You hear about little craft cannabis shows, stuff like that. So,
Well,
but I'm looking more at the target, the home grow that's coming.
Yep.
That's the big thing. Is hopefully it will be federal legally, and like all the states will just pass grow laws, and then hopefully Kannavox will really take off. That's what we're ramping up for now. We got the best technology, so we got everything.
My bad. I was I just got to. No, doing this show is like hilarious, bro. It's so much random stuff that just happens, like just randomly.
Oh, I'm sure you see a lot of stuff, hear a lot of stuff, have a lot of people reach out to you.
We were just saying that yesterday that like every day is like a brand new day for this show, and the stuff that comes with this show is crazy.
I bet you it's like opening a whole new door to a whole new world, man. It's like, like I joined LinkedIn like 3 years ago, and like I was working at a car dealership, like just trying to like my first kid wasn't even here yet, so I was like, oh man, like what do I do? Like I'm applying to all these like grow places, and they like want to hire me, and like I had this job down in New Jersey to be like the master grower. They're gonna relocate me, all this stuff, and then I was like, you know what, like, nah. So I quit my car job, did all that, and like I just started focusing on what I need to do, like get my network right, so I know the right people, can travel, and like have that national footprint basically, so I'm able to do or have someone do what they want, and basically I still get to do my morale and like my ethical means to the cannabis industry and hopefully help it out.
What's your favorite strain?
Man, it's a hard one to answer. I would have to say like a Three Kings Kush is nice. I like that. Also, I mean, AK-47, I know it's a name that's always thrown around, but it's one of the sweetest, earthiest smelling toned buds out there. And I mean, it can get up to 28%. But I'd probably have to say, like, more of like a Jack Hare, Chocolope, something more sativa. I like sativas.
Yeah, that's what I'm into too.
Yeah, something more uplifting, cerebral.
Yeah, I like to be able to do shit high, not go to sleep.
Yeah. I don't like to get stoned. I like to get high.
Exactly. Come on, it's a difference. That's what people need to know. That's a good slogan. I like to get stoned, or I like to get high, not stoned. Come on, bro. That was nice. I like that one. I see what you're doing there.
Yeah, I got that from Arjun, man. I heard that like probably 8 years ago in a Strain Hunters episode on YouTube. I was watching him. I was watching Arjun and Franco just like look at these mutants and like how they were like, oh, I like the sativas, I like the indicas, blah blah blah. And Arjun's like, no, I like to get. You don't need to be stoned. I like to get high, So I've always like that. But yeah, Arjun's one of my cool guys. I always like Franco and his passion, but it's too bad he's gone. You know, there's a lot of good guys that have been gone that are getting out of it, and you know, keeping that legacy alive with the genetics and not letting them get degraded, basically, and keeping the heritage alive is huge. So
Yeah, well, and then, you know, we all kind of have to watch out too, because for years now, there's been this dude out of Vegas. His company is out of Vegas, but he's out of Seattle. He's been taking utility patents out on like strains for a couple of years now.
oh yeah, they take utility manufacturer patents out on strains like Phylos, you know, will do it, like stuff. They're just creating these basically like terpene galaxy, like the Phylos galaxy.
Right.
Like you can go on there, look
then,
at any strain and like what the terpene profile, lineage, everything is.
Well, and then, you know, some of these folks are going to end up being patent trolls, right? So like,
yeah, so like 90% of the public's gonna either get fined when they're growing within this parameter of a flower. So like this flower has these terpenes, and then it has so much THC and THC, CBD, you know, CBN, CBC, all that. They're going to be like, okay, we patented that in that range, so you can't produce a flower or sell a flower within that range. And then there's going to be lawsuits unfolding through all these, you know, storefront dispensaries that have COAs within that parameter. So that's one thing to watch out for.
mm-hmm.
So if I was a lawyer, I'd be looking out for that and researching that right now, because that's going to be a huge thing.
Oh yeah, for sure. So the DuPont Genetics, is that something, are you making genetics available to like folks that want it, or are you developing the genetics more internally for your company for now?
Both. I do, you know, my proprietary strains that I work on. I usually work on them for like 3-4 years before I release an F2 or an F3 to the public. I usually don't ever release my F1s. Like I have F1s from like the 80s that I've got from like, you know, some big names. I don't want to name them. But those ones, you know, you'll throw 300 in and maybe like 70 will pop, and then you'll like go through and, you know, you'll file it down to like 8 plants, and then you know, that's how you really pick it. And then you go rub that stem, see like what it's going to smell like, flower them out, and then you pollinate the ones you want, and then you do the same selection process with males, basically. But, yeah,
Colby,
I got a lot of Africa strains, but yeah, I'm selling them in Maine right now, and also on Strainly, they got them.
Okay.
So,
very cool.
Dispensary up in Maine, Green Roots. They're also a NECANN nominee. So.
Yeah, you got to hook me up some sativa seeds, man.
Huh?
You grow sativas?
Sativas, indicas, hybrids, I got everything.
Yeah, you got to hook me up with some sativas.
I'm working on super autos right now.
What was the dude that we had on that grows the C99? He also grows that Jack. He also grows the Jack Hare. The Jack Hare.
Well, he also does all feminized stuff, so his stuff is all
women.
Is all, yeah.
Yeah, he fems, he sprays his plants. Yeah. Yeah, I don't do that.
Yeah.
Look at that smile.
No colloidal silver for me.
Boy,
he smiled the whole time. You put that.
Well, and you know,
I true breed.
There's definitely different schools of thought, and I think Rick.
Well, come on, like, what are you doing when you spray a plant? You're going in to have sex surgery, dude. Right?
Well, you are forcing it.
You're changing the sex of that plant's DNA. Chromosomically.
Interesting.
No, I don't want that in my library. I don't. It's just the way the plants breed, and they can hermy. You know, like if you're gonna have more hermaphrodites, so you're gonna you're gonna degrade that whole lineage that you just crossed. Basically, you're just like making your plants more prone to harm under stressful conditions. So you send that out to, 1,000 growers around the country or around the world, and maybe like probably an eighth of those are gonna have a batch that like a couple of those seeds are gonna be Hermes in or more. You know what I mean? So they're gonna have a female the whole time, and then all of a sudden it's gonna start flowering, and it starts spitting out bananas, and then all of a sudden, next thing you know, you're gonna have seeds on your plant. And you can't regrow or rebreed a hermaphrodite seed because you can never get that.
You have to.
You can't get it out.
Okay.
Yeah. You
Learn something new.
Oh yeah. Every day.
Colby, thanks for coming on with us today. We definitely want to have you back on again soon, and we'll follow up with you because it was an interesting discussion. We definitely have some folks in the comments who, for next time you come back, would love to hear more about like your thoughts on, non-feminized seeds and maybe why you think they're better than feminized seeds and stuff. So it was
Yeah.
It's a cool talking point. We appreciate you spending some time with us this morning.
All right, yeah, definitely. I'll be back on, and let's keep in touch. And Eric, send me a message. I'll get you those seeds.
Definitely, man. We'll definitely talk a lot more.
Thanks.
All
man.
right, thank you.
All right,
Appreciate
man.
you,
Be
Colby.
safe.
Thank you.
Later.
Colby Dupont, everybody.
Oh yeah.
He's a cool dude. We appreciate him hanging out.
Super
with us a little
chill. Super chilling, man.
bit. I can.
You can tell he was high as hell.
Maybe.
That boy is high as moon, high as the moon. Unless he just talked that low and
That could just be his like
his persona,
Yeah.
the way he carries himself. That's fine, but
really chill.
just understand, a lot of people think you were high, especially if you're a grower.
Well, but he even said that he likes sativas, though, right? So
Exactly, you can
if
tell
he
that
got-
helps
if
him.
Chances are he would have been like,
That helps him getting up, yeah.
if anything, he
so
would've-
maybe
he
he
would've
didn't
been-
smoke yet.
and he would have been like, "Yo, I need to get out this interview.
That's
'cause I
probably
gotta go do
what-
stuff. I gotta go like
that's-
do genetics and
That's probably why he was like,
go
yeah,
continue building his
I need to
empire.
get off. I'm starting to get a little sluggish. I need that uppity. And
Yeah,
I
he
ain't
was
trying
like,
to smoke on
Good
camera.
job, boys. Good job.
I still get taxes every month. Taxes from what? Taxes
and
only
he
apply
also,
to
by
me.
the way, we didn't talk about this with him.
Taxes
He
only
didn't share it with
apply
us,
to
but
me.
Colby was.
I
on
know.
fire. He was on fire.
I ain't want to talk about it. I didn't want to say nothing because I don't know how people get traumatized by a lot of stuff. Like people are traumatized by car accidents. People are traumatized by clowns, all types of stuff. And let me tell you, being burned is no joke. I don't know nothing about it, but let me tell you, that's one of my worst fears is to be burned any type of way. Like just even to see a fire on me is just horrifying. So I ain't want to bring it up because I ain't want to. I ain't know how he felt about it. If he wanted to talk about it, he would have talked about it. But he didn't want to talk about it, so we ain't talk about it. I don't want to bring up traumatizing events for people. They don't want to talk about it because I know if I was in a fire, I don't want to talk about it. The shit burned, yes. Never hurt.
Sheila's jealous that you're getting seeds.
Well, Sheila, I mean, you've won a lot of jam, and I'm sure when you received your jam,
Sheila-
you didn't have taxes taken out, right, Sheila? So I think you need to.
Sheila has been one of the biggest winners.
Exactly. So Sheila, you should not be jealous because there's a lot of people jealous that you got to win multiple times with no taxes taken out. Your tax return was little.
Up next, we're going to have Steve Bloom in a couple of minutes. Steve Bloom, if you don't recognize the name, he's done all kinds of stuff. You might recognize him most, though, as a former editor of High Times for a number of years.
Today is whatchamacallit's birthday, Tara.
Whose?
Tara's.
Tara Hopper?
Yep.
What? Can somebody tag Tara?
Happy birthday to Tara. Oh, happy birthday to Tara. Happy birthday, dear Tara. Oh, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Tara. Y'all should tag her. Tara Hopper. She was on the show. She's the cannabis lawyer who had the iguana on her head.
No.
No iguana. No iguana.
Tara has been on the show, and she talked about mental health with Cheryl.
With Cheryl. That's what she did.
That's what you were thinking.
That's what I was talking about. I don't know what I was talking about.
But Tara does have an awesome iguana, and we love Tara.
I'm terrible.
And can I also tell you something?
Shoot.
Yeah, and by the way, Colby, I made that title before I knew you were a Steve fan.
Hey, Colby, you should go rewatch the show and see what we said about you after. Everybody in the comments was saying my man's looked like he was lit the whole time. But we just know that's your cool way of talking. You just a cool cat. You just one of them cats that's just super cool. You know, you seen Tom and Jerry when the dudes that be flipping a coin on the wall. That's a cool cat. You a cool cat. We just flipping the coin like, what's up? What you need? I got some good growth.
Can I tell you that Sheila has won so much on the show? She's the only person so far that has won a ticket to your birthday party.
Oh, Sheila, you coming to my birthday? I didn't know that. No, I knew that. I didn't know that. I didn't remember what happened.
He'd remember when he saw you.
Definitely.
Sheila's like blowing up your spot right now.
I will see you. I know, right? She like bragging. I will see you at your birthday
No,
party.
I'm saying the next
It looks like, huh? What? What are you talking about?
Just read all the comments.
Looks like you're gonna see it.
Colby, we're glad that you're okay. Colby was actually going to come on a couple of weeks earlier or something. He was going to come on earlier, but he was recovering. So we're totally happy he's doing really well now.
Yes, sir. I'm good in the fire. I'm all healed up now. Thanks. That's good, my brother. I'm glad you are healed up and doing well, because that is my worst fear, is to get burned. I'm not gonna lie. I'd rather deal with water than deal with fire. I don't know. Something about it scares me. Thanks to video games. Stop playing so many video games.
Interesting. Hey, thanks, Brian Turnbull, for sharing the stream. I like it when people share the stream and we can see it.
Brian Turnbull.
Yeah, you know what no one has done?
Come on, Turnbull. Bring
done
that last name in the comments. We all want to talk about what Turnbull mean, because I definitely need to figure out what Turnbull mean. What does Turnbull, like a bull that's turning? Is it like a bull that's doing this?
But maybe it's the dude with the cape that is like, "Hey," and then you're turning the bull.
Oh.
I forget what they're called.
Do you ride bulls for a living, Turnbull? Because that'd be a very dope last name
Brian's
for a person.
Unlike share.
He's like, I give you guys a chance and y'all talk shit about my name.
You don't even, I've never come on your show before, ever. He's like my friend. No, he's like my friend was Colby. Colby told me to come on.
He finna report this shit. He finna report this shit. Like, yo, nah.
It's funny, I did just see, it wasn't him though, I did just see something disappear out of the thing, which is hilarious. Maybe somebody did.
Okay, you know they make a bald head moisturizer. First of all, We need to talk about this because that is very offensive.
Bald head moisturizer?
Yes.
Insinuating that you need a different moisturizer than regular skin?
Exactly. That makes absolute no sense. I am offended. Highly offended by somebody selling bald head moisturizer. Listen.
Maybe that makes sense because what they're saying is you have highly sensitive skin on your head.
No. If anything, we got tough skin because our head's always in the elements. Our scalp is always in the elements. Don't you know when it get cold, you feel every breeze? And when it's hot, your head start burning? Yeah, so no.
New hat.
I am offended by bald head moisturizer. Wow. Did our comments just stop? Like, what?
No, just nobody thinks we're saying anything interesting.
Somebody thinks we're funny. This show 80, shit, we should be funny by now. I mean, if we ain't funny by now, then you need to stop watching.
This is literally show 84.
Man.
We've done a ton of them.
Man, I'm tired of talking to y'all.
Well, don't get too tired because we have Steve Bloom coming on in like 5 minutes. He's a cool dude.
Like, why the comments ain't flowing?
Well, can I tell you? Because we don't give people encouragement to do the comments thing anymore. Do you want to do that right now? Look, Trish and Sheila are like...
Yeah, bald heads.
Oh, wait. Sheila says she was invited first, and she accepted, and then she also won an invite.
How was you invited? Invited first to what?
To your party.
How
Because
was you invited?
well, we might have had... there might have been a show when we were talking about it, and how we were talking about how we wanted people to be able to come, and...
I don't know if that's true, Sheila.
Sheila can probably...
I don't think we invited you.
I'm pretty sure Sheila can probably, like...
I don't think we invited
she's
you,
gonna
Sheila.
mail you a link to the show.
That's
with a
fine,
timestamp,
but
like,
you better hope it's on there. Because if it's not, then that means the current ticket you got goes back to the raffle.
Oh, no, it doesn't.
No, it does. Look at it. Whose birthday is it? You can listen to Mike all you want, but whose birthday is it? Well, you said Eric Martin birthday. All right, Mike birthday not till December, so you can do that then. You're not. My party is the hey. Don't be lying. Don't be lying in the comments because comments stick. They last forever.
Well, unless they delete them. But
No, you delete. Once we seen it, it's there. It's stuck there. That's why anything you put on the internet, it gets stuck there. As soon as you push that send button, somebody done seen it, and when they seen it, that means they can come up with whatever they want in their head. So when you delete it, they be like, oh, they can probably add a few things to it to make it sound worse. So it's better you just leave it up there and just be confident in what you said, which is fine. So like when you delete that, I was invited first, I accepted. And I also won an invite. So you saying that, I remembered that. Now, if you delete the comment, immediately I'm going to think, well, the way I'm going to remember the comment was, I deserve to be invited first. And I also won an invite because I'm nice.
Rebecca is asking if there's going to be trap music at the party.
Hey, Rebecca, mind your business. This is when you show up to the party, that's what will be there. We not giving away no, hey, this is a private party, a private function, and you ain't even got a ticket yet. So why would we let you know if you gonna be in or not, Rebecca?
Oh, Rebecca's pretty sure she's gonna.
Nah, I gotta be like that to Rebecca, because if you didn't forget, which you probably did, because it wasn't an insult to you, was that apparently my head is 5 fingers.
Oh,
big.
That was Rebecca?
Yeah, that's 100%. 100%.
I totally remember the comments. I didn't remember.
Yeah, I'm never forgetting it neither. Anything you put in the comments is solidified, stamped in my head. So just understand, Rebecca, forever I'm a 5 head to you. That's all I think of. Anytime I see your name, it says Rebecca Eric Martin 5 head did Tammy. Is that how you say your last name? The Tammy? So just understand that's what I think.
She's gonna be so mad at how you just pronounced her name.
That's fine. I got 5 heads anyway, so if I couldn't pronounce it in one head, best believe I got 4 more to pronounce it in. Might just decide to bounce again, yo. Look at dude be bouncing with no see, when I leave with at least an explanation. I'm going to go get some water, I'm going to take my pills, I'm going to, do something. When Mike get up and leave, he don't say nothing. He just leave like, you got it, Eric. Good luck.
No, I'm still here.
But that's what an assistant do though. That's what people do to their assistants. They put them on the spot in the hardest positions. So as an assistant who signed up for this is what I have to do. I have to be able to right on call, just function, be able to just be like, oh yeah, it's my turn to host the show now, all by myself. Nobody else. Remember, I got to play the Eric and the Mike. So this is the Eric and Mike show featuring Eric
and his microphone.
Yeah. D Tommy.
So Eric, before we bring on
her name
Steve
is the
Bloom.
Tommy.
Before we bring on Steve Bloom, you are going to start your grow soon, so you need to start thinking about like what you actually want to grow, and you're allowed to have 6 plants in each stage. So we got to start off with like 6 or so, right? And so what do you want to grow? Do you want to grow just sativas?
No, I want to grow anything, whatever they
Well, yeah, but you gotta like, you can't, it's not legal to grow like a whole bunch of stuff. You gotta just pick 6 at a time.
I understand that, but I don't want to I understand the law says I only have to do 6, so I will only do 6. But I'm gonna make sure I got some good seeds to go along with it.
Mm-hmm. And so, but you think you're gonna grow just straight up sativas?
Sativas are harder to grow. I might work on both, growing sativas and indicas, but we'll decide that.
Well, and that was the whole thing why they originally made hybrids, I think, was so that, because they were like, they wanted sativa stuff, but they also wanted the volume of indica and how easy it's easier to grow. That's why people a lot of times grow indicas.
Interesting.
And also the plants, when you grow a sativa versus indica, usually the indica will output more flower than the sativa.
So then I should want to grow indica, is what you're saying.
Yeah, except you don't like indica.
Exactly. So
it's not that you don't like it, but you prefer sativa.
Of course. It wakes me up.
All right, I'm coming.
Yeah, so I don't know if y'all noticed, if y'all been watching, but my main man Mike went black for a little bit. Now he's coming back. There you go. I don't think people seen what I was doing on camera or paying attention, which is fine.
Oh, we only have 1 viewer now. No, I'm just kidding.
I was about to say, damn, it's time for me to retire because I'm not finna have me looking foolish on here. We're talking to one person, and I probably know him.
All right, I'm just going to finish setting Steve up here and make everything look beautiful. Hi, guys. Hey, Steve. Hi. Give me just a second here, and I'm going to make this look great. So, Steve, welcome to the show. Hopefully, I know we're running a couple minutes late, but thanks for joining us today. We really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Steve, your resume that I got was like one of the longest I've ever seen. And you're ridiculously accomplished in the industry. I think I probably spent like three or 4 minutes at the top of the show trying to go over the entire list without sounding like I was just reading off of a list, which clearly I was. But we're really honored to have you here today, joining us, and we really appreciate it.
You're very welcome.
So Steve, if you like, I can go through. What I have you up on screen as is that you're a journalist and you're an author and you're a publisher and you're an activist, which I think sort of covers the breadth of everything that I saw. But can you give us some of the highlights of your illustrious career so far?
Well, I started as a music journalist in the late 70s. That's where my career began. I was a high school editor, college editor on the newspaper. So I got to start pretty young doing all this. I considered college kind of like the minor leagues of publishing, and you learned, there how to produce a newspaper. So I learned there, and I took a couple of years off after college, traveled around, did a little on the road Jack Kerouac adventure seeking, and came back to New York and decided to start my career as a music writer because I wasn't good enough to be a musician, but I had studied music quite a bit when I was younger. My father was really into music. I grew up in the Beatles era, grew up in the late 60s era of classic rock, and a great period of music to say the least. And not to mention all the great R&B and soul at that time as well. And so I decided to become a music journalist. And so my career just was mostly freelancing, in and out of jobs. I also had editing abilities, so I had an editor job here and there. Switched gears a couple of times, wrote about different subjects other than music. And then one thing led to another, that I met somebody who worked at High Times. And a friend of mine named John Holmstrom was the one who hired me at High Times. And he hired me as news editor in 1988. And so that was kind of not the greatest time to be being a marijuana advocate, because it was, during the Reagan-Bush years, and things looked pretty bad. So we kind of saw the worst of it then, the drug war at its peak, and High Times at its kind of nadir, because the magazine wasn't doing very well. But things changed in the 90s. Clinton was elected. There was a new wave of interest in marijuana and legalization, and I kind of rode that wave pretty much to where I am now. Now, what I've been doing lately, though, just to continue, I worked for High Times for 20 years. After High Times, I left High Times and started a website called celebstoner.com, because I focused on music and celebrities at High Times. A lot of the covers you saw back in those days, I had something probably to do with having a celebrity in the magazine or on the cover. It could have been Cypress Hill or Ozzy Osbourne or Snoop Dogg or Willie Nelson and Ice Cube. So we had a lot of great, fun people on the cover that I had something to do with. When I left High Times, I wrote a book called Pop Culture, the A to Z Guide to Stoner Language and Life. I did that with my friend Charlie Halperin. We did a second book called Reefer Movie Madness, the Ultimate Stoner Film Guide. So that was back then. Haven't really done any book writing for a while. I went off into a first job post High Times was with a magazine called Freedom Leaf and a company called Freedom Leaf, and I produced 35 magazines for them over a 5-year period. That company merged last year with another company and got rid of their media properties, so I lost my job. And then most recently, I was hired by Centennial Media to be the editor of Marijuana Goes Mainstream and The Complete Guide to CBD. So I've been working with them since November.
Oh, very, very cool. Well, and certainly this, the CBD guide is definitely something I think these days that more and more folks, especially even folks that haven't been like sort of normalized to the THC side of cannabis, certainly having a physical book, I think is great. There's a lot of education out there, but there's not necessarily a lot out there that folks can, especially your lay person, can have access and some reasonable guidance to CBD. I know there's a lot of miseducation out there. There's a lot of folks buying sort of questionable CBD, and so I think it's great for folks to have access to education, especially in a print form. I think that sort of gets lost these days with our sort of new way of consuming information, right?
Well, these are nice books. You know, these are special magazines, 112 pages, just devoted to, say, CBD or marijuana. CBD is a little confusing for people, but I think people are figuring it out themselves. You know, they try it out, they decide whether it works or it doesn't. They decide, you know, if the dosing wasn't right, they try another dose. They don't like the product, they try another product. There's hundreds on the market. So, you know, I recently, in the latest issue of the CBD issue, I decided to dive in a little bit for myself and really, you know, check it out a little bit more personally. A lot of companies sent me products, sent me tinctures and lotions and creams and gummies. And, my conclusion just in general is that CBD is pretty good as a topical. I just think it helps. You know, if you got a nick or a bruise, you have a pain here or there, it just, you know, sort of miraculously helps. You know, you put it on, next thing you feel a little better. And it's not just you're thinking you feel better, you are better. So I do think it's a mysterious thing how CBD works. But it is a cannabinoid. It's a significant cannabinoid, and it has a lot of medical properties.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting, Steve. I think my first foray into CBD at all happened to also be my first dab that I ever took, and it was a CBD isolate dab. And I figured at the time I was kind of wary of the whole dab thing. I had never done it before. I was nervous, especially being in front of people. I was very nervous about it. And I figured a CBD dab, you know, what could go wrong with that, right? And I'll tell you, that one CBD dab changed my whole, because CBD, I see it all the time in gas stations. We all do, right? It already felt like such a commodity that at the time, this was 2 years ago, I didn't have a lot of faith in it, right? I wasn't sure. I took that CBD dab. I'll tell you, there were things that I had wrong with me that I didn't even realize, because when I took that CBD dab, I suddenly realized that my knee felt better, and I didn't even realize that my knee was bothering me a little bit. And for 10 or 15 minutes, I felt like Superman for about 10 or 15 minutes. And it was probably the best I had felt in years. And that was just from a concentrated dose of CBD. It was amazing.
Oh, that's good to know. Hey, Eric, you must use CBD. A lot of the football players do, right?
Yeah, I've had my fair share use of. I didn't really use CBD when I played. I didn't really know nothing about CBD, honestly. I just thought weed was weed. I didn't really learn about weed until I was done playing. And so when I played, I just mostly I just had a lot of dealers. You know, I dealt with a lot of black market because I didn't really know who to trust in terms of finding, good cannabis. So I had to, as an athlete and somebody who's in a position where you're all under a microscope, you got to make sure you move. You got to move in silence. You know, you don't want everybody knowing your business. So it was kind of one of them things where, everywhere I played, I tried to find somebody I can trust, or I reached out to a friend who knew somebody, that I can trust to get some good cannabis. And, smoking it was fun for me, but also I just didn't understand why it felt so good until I started to learn about it after I was done. And then it kind of pushed me to do more with it and stuff, because, hitting somebody as hard as you can hurts, and you need something to recover from those type of hits. So and it was just better than taking pills, taking a bunch of heavy medication. And so when I learned about CBD and I took a CBD dab for the first time, it was super strange for me. It was a weird feeling because I took it after a workout, so it was just weird to feel my body be overcome so much pain in such short time after a dab. It was literally 10 seconds later, and all the pain kind of left my body, all the soreness that I had left my body. And I had just did leg day, and I'm not real fun with leg day, so it was it was just super amazing to see how quick it worked. A CBD dab versus smoking CBD or taking it as an edible. I think dabbing was the best and the fastest way I felt it. I felt pain disappeared ever. Even smoking cannabis when I'm sore is still you know, it still takes a while for it to like really, you know, get done, you know, really get over the pain. And so, yeah, dabbing CBD was probably one of the best experiences for me.
Well, and you know, Steve, Eric also, he retired from the NFL from concussions and the effects of concussions. And so he was actually using cannabis to he tells stories, so I'm not outing him in any way with this, but he tells stories about how he would smoke before games sometimes.
Yeah, I smoked all the time before. I'm not afraid to talk about it because everybody in the stadium knew I was high before when I showed up. Like we pull into the stadium and they have some like a person take our cars to go park them for us, and so you know me stepping out the car and it's like full of smoke. You know, as long as I did my job, nobody batting the eye. Because, you know, they're not going to fire you on game day. They need you.
Well,
So,
if you made a big mistake in the game, they might give you.
well, even if you make a mistake in the game, it's not, you know, the game. That's the thing about the game of football. You got to learn to lose. You got to learn to fail. And that's what football teaches you. It builds character. And that's what they mean by builds character is it forces you to learn how to lose. Forces you to understand losing and understanding that, you know, you got to focus on the next play. So it was just one of them things where, you know, you mess up one big time, as long as the next, you know, few plays you recover from it, you don't. The thing about the NFL, they don't like the same mistakes. If something new pops up and you mess up, that's fine. But if you mess up on it and then you mess up on it again, then that's when it becomes an issue because obviously you're not getting the point. So it's just, you know, look at smoking weed helped. It got rid of a lot of anxiety before the game, worrying about if I'm gonna get my head knocked off. It got rid of all of that because that was probably the scariest part of the game is before the game, because once you get the first hit in football, it's like after the first hit, everything else is cool after that. So it was just, you know, that build up. It's just like getting your first time getting on an airplane. Or your first time skydiving. It's like the build-up is way more painful than the actual event itself, you know. So that's kind of what football is. It's the build-up throughout the week of the fear of the person you're about to play. And then it's like, once you're out there, it's like, damn, I'm really about to, you know, hit this person. And once you hit them, it's like, yo, that's what I was scared of this whole time. And it's kind of like a snap, like, oh, it's just football. Now we back to normal. So it's smoking kind of helps get rid of that. You know, when I smoke before the game is because I'm worried that this dude is finna knock my head off. So when I smoke, at that point, I'm not even caring no more if he knocked my head off, because either way, I'm gonna have to hit him. So that's what cannabis did for me, you know, before the games. And then when I smoke after the games, that's because of the pain of hitting him all game. Now it starts to settle in right after the football game when you're taking your pads off your body. It's kind of like you wearing all these pads and all this tight gear, your body's like compressed. So then when you take it all off, it's like your body's like, oh, finally. And so you get all this swelling that occurs, and, you know, all these little pains start to pop up that you didn't even know you had because, you know, you're not thinking about it during the game. And so that's what smoking on the ride home does for me. It kind of like, it helps get rid of all that pain and stuff that I've experienced after the game. And if I would have known about dabbing CBD after a football game, I would have did that if I could. But I didn't know nothing about it, so I never did it. I just used to just smoke, you know.
And it's interesting too, Steve, because Eric's preferred ingestion normally is to smoke flower in blunts. And so even though he's mentioning the whole dab thing, he's not like he enjoys them, I've seen.
Yeah, I'm not a big dabber.
He's not a dabber. He doesn't own a dab rig or anything.
It's because it's just too much. It makes me cough really hard, and it's too much.
Well, I'll tell you, though, it'd be interesting for you to get one of those like dab pens and then get some CBD stuff and use that after.
Nah, that'd be probably tight, a dab pen CBD. You know, somebody had a CBD inhaler. I thought that was pretty dope, too. I used one before, and I thought that was a very interesting concept. A CBD inhaler, like it was like, whoosh, and you just kind of, yeah, that was, but this one had THC in it, and he said like the each hit was equivalent to a joint or two or something like that. I don't remember what it was.
So Steve, you know, I know that you're very active in writing content, making content within the cannabis industry. I imagine, and just even from part of your resume, like for instance, being one of the organizers around and forgive me for misnaming it, but it's a large cannabis-centric parade that happens in New York City.
Yeah, the NYC Cannabis Parade and Rally.
Yeah, and so now, you know, now that we had the COVID outbreak, and obviously that affected everything, but certainly I think the cannabis industry has been seeing that, you know, the event space might not be looking like what it has traditionally looked like. So just from your viewpoint, what do you think, you know, how do you think we're going to, how and in what way is that sort of cannabis social scene going to rebound? What are your thoughts on it?
Well, what we're doing right now is the current and the future. You know, this is how we're going to be having meetings and conferences more and more in the future. There's no real need for people to get together and travel thousands of miles. It's nice to be together and pass joints and all that stuff, but I think we're going to learn that we don't really need to travel so far to go places, and we can do things from our homes, and we don't have to be as wasteful using airplanes and doing all the things you do when you travel. It's all nice and well. I mean, everybody loves to travel and go places, but you have to also look at the bigger picture of what's happening when you're doing that. And now with spreading a disease, you know, you really can't be in large groups with people. Look what's happening already in a lot of the sports leagues, you know, that are trying to reopen, and people are getting sick left and right. And, you know, I don't think any of these things are really going to happen this year, to be honest. They're going to try, but I think they're going to get shut down. All the leagues are going to get shut down because too many people are going to get sick because everybody's in too close contact, and they're socializing afterwards, and they're schmoozing beforehand, and whatever it is, they're not being careful and safe. So the same thing goes for our events. We just really can't meet right now. We just cannot get together in a room, thousands of people, and have an expo and, you know, have a njbiz.com, you know, of thousands of people wandering around a trade floor. You just can't do it. So that's over for now. And it's being replaced by online virtual events like what you're doing and other events that I've participated in or I've watched. The ICBC events, which I've been involved in for years, International Cannabis Business Conference, took me all over the world. And I really appreciate that I went so many places. But recently they did a virtual, and it was fine. You know, I got all the same information I would have gotten if I was there in person. So you have to kind of look at the reality of, you know, is it really necessary? Yes, we want to get together and socialize and see each other, but we have to kind of consider that secondary right now to keeping people safe and not getting sick.
Yeah, and actually, I think, you know, in my prior to being in the cannabis space, one of the things I did was to help to design Cisco Live, which was basically online meeting and collaboration software. It's actually probably not all that different to like some of the stuff that you see here, which is like chat and polls and all that stuff. And I actually see that there's probably going to be a need for that to really step up that technology, because I think it's great that we can use Zoom to meet and conference, but I think we still need more, right? I think we can, you know, I think we're going to find that. And this isn't a cannabis industry issue. It's really all industries everywhere, I think. I think we're going to have to figure out a way to make these sort of virtual events even sort of like maybe a little bit bigger and better than what we can do easily right now, you know, and who knows, maybe we'll see an uptick in VR and AR now that people are maybe shut in a bit more, can't have sort of that in-person experience, and maybe we'll see a resurgence of AR and VR where we sort of saw that starting to slow down or not really get a major adoption. Maybe we'll finally get something in the cannabis industry around, you know, where you can put some goggles on and, you know, instead of just seeing the Zoom meeting, maybe we can sort of be in a virtual room with everyone. And I don't know, I think I'm just looking forward to, you know, seeing sort of the usability around the idea that we're making use of these online meeting spaces. I'm looking forward to the usability getting better with them.
And I think it will. I think, I'm sure the tech industry is looking at this and they're going to improve it. I mean, Zoom is like the first thing that everybody kind of went to, and there's a bunch of other formats, that do similar things, but everybody's sort of getting used to Zoom because Zoom's so easy, and that's good. Ease of access is pretty much the most, and even people have a lot of problems even with Zoom figuring out little things. But it's so simple. But I think what they need to do is, expand the program, so it's not just people sitting around talking. Maybe there's room for sponsor messages. Sponsor can promote products. So it's like you're walking down in the expo, but you're instead seeing sponsors saying, "Hey, look at my new tincture, and this is what it does," and tell a little story and have 5 minutes on what's at your booth, so to speak. Or so there's a lot of things that can be done other than just people chatting, like this, which is nice. And I like the format, but there's got to be other things that people can do to keep interested, so it's not just, one-on-one interviews.
Well, and so Steve, it's interesting that you mentioned that, and our format of this show has sort of it's been tweaked over time, but I'll tell you, for a long time we were doing, for instance, daily giveaways. We do the show every single day. We're doing daily giveaways, a new giveaway every single day. We ended up almost like with 2 shows. And I don't talk about this much, but two shows running simultaneously because Facebook and other platforms judge the effectiveness of this media in a way that's very different than traditional media, right? They're not just assuming that, like Nielsen, and Nielsen, for instance, it's very vague metrics, right? And the entire industry is willing to go by that. But with online media, it's actually much more about direct engagement than it is about having eyeballs. They actually care more about engagement than how many people watch. And so, we were finding very interesting ways to increase the engagement on the show. And then what we found was that there were almost 2 different shows going on at the same time. One show where we would have sort of wonderful interviews and discussions with people, and then another show that was going on in the comments. And this isn't the case today. Everyone is actually paying attention to the interview, but traditionally we would end up with 1,000 or 1,500 comments, and we'd end up with 1,000 reactions to the video. And it wasn't about doing an interview with somebody. It was really about trying to craft this presentation in a way that encouraged engagement. And I'll tell you something, they fly in the face of each other, right? So if we just wanted a show that Facebook thought was wildly popular, we probably wouldn't even do interviews because the engagement actually goes down. It's really, it's almost like an unfortunate thing, because to me, the real value of us doing this is being able to talk with people like you and to, for people to hear stories and to get educated and to further get normalized around cannabis. And that was our intent when we did the show. Was we didn't even necessarily want a cannabis show. We wanted a show that was cannabis friendly, that could help to, that maybe not just cannabis indoctrinated folks would watch, but that lots of different folks could watch, And I'll tell you, Steve, after like 5 shows, I was looking at the numbers and I'm like, we have to do something to increase engagement. And again, it's really tough. I come from traditional television. So to me, sort of pandering to an audience to increase engagement it doesn't necessarily feel great to me, or to anyone, I think, for that matter, that spends their time making content. So it's really interesting, because I think that there's an interesting mission for those of us in cannabis, right? Which is, how do we create media that's, awesome, classy, full of integrity, but yet is also something that folks outside of the cannabis bubble want to consume and will consume. And I think that's a really interesting sort of mission for those of us that are trying to, create media and trying to reach people, is like, how do we find that balance? Where's that intersect finally? Because even this show, a lot of it, we try hard to get non-cannabis people to watch this show, but the cannabis industry still sees this as a cannabis show, right? Which is great, and we're happy. We just want people to watch, but we would love it if, I would love it if my relatives in the middle of the country that still call it the devil's lettuce were watching this show and could say like, oh, I actually learned something today, right? And that's why, honestly, Steve, we're totally friendly. Like, if you or anyone else that comes on the show wants to consume, we're totally fine with that. We don't consume on camera simply because we feel like for the non-indoctrinated cannabis users, not seeing smoke it makes it more palatable for them. Like I don't want people to discount the awesomeness that the bits and pieces that can come from the show that might be gems for people. I don't want to discount that by somebody saying like, yeah, I know it sounded good, but I saw that guy smoking on camera and I'm not into that smoking thing, So it's been an interesting journey for us over the last 3 months of doing this every day, because we're trying to find that intersect, right? We're trying to find that sweet spot where folks that are in the cannabis industry can say yeah, that's a really cool show and we like it, we enjoy it, but that also the non-cannabis folks can be like, hey, that's something we want to watch. And that's why, Steve, we'll have non-cannabis guests a lot of times if we can too, just to sort of keep it fresh and interesting for everyone. And I don't know. It's just, I do find as much as there are important conversations going on in the cannabis arena that often we're doing that in a vacuum. And so it's just, that's why we don't give it a cannabis name for the show. That's why we wanted something different so that folks would actually, check it out, even if they don't know what CBD is yet, right? And so it's just, I don't know. I think it's an interesting opportunity for all of us right now in media, especially to find creative ways to sort of educate about cannabis when we're dealing with a media sort of infrastructure that's not cannabis friendly.
I suppose so, but there's been tremendous amount of cannabis coverage over the years, that's picked up by the mainstream media. It makes it harder for us, the smaller blogs, to really compete because we used to have marijuana to ourselves. It wasn't covered by the mainstream media unless it was negative, and now they cover everything. Every little story, gets picked up by CNN. So we don't have the scoops, so to speak. So it's a little harder to compete, but it's a good thing, to have, widespread. As far as engagement, this period of time, the good news is that people are home, so they have time to sit home and watch this stuff. It's just up to you to promote better, perhaps, and reach a few more people and, be a little more relentless about reminding people that the show exists and do what you have to do to get it out there, the word out there. This helps. Even little things like reaching out to me. I'm just one guy in the marijuana community, but you reach out to me. I'm a media guy. I'm sort of an influencer. I'm going to promote you now. Just by the mere fact I'm on your show, I posted the links, a couple of places on Facebook. Check me out today. So it's incremental, little steps here, little steps there, each person supporting, and you keep building, your sort of movement. So it's very tricky, on the content side, since COVID, I've noticed, people's attention spans have been very odd, hard to tell what they want to read about. March and April were kind of duds. March, I couldn't figure out what people wanted to read. They didn't seem to want to read anything that I was posting. And then April came along. It was 420 month, but obviously it was a little less of a 420 that we're used to. But usually that's a good traffic pickup for April. So I did have a little bit of a boost. And then May came, and suddenly I started to get, readers back. I'm not sure, but they took 2 months off, so to speak, in the middle of a COVID panic. And everybody's sort of freaked out, and everybody's dealing with it differently. And so I think we're sort of a little bit back to people's eyes, going to what they normally like to read. But you're never sure what people are going to be interested in. I in being a blogger and a web publisher for years, you just never know. You post something, you think, oh, that's going to do great, and nobody cares. And you post something else that's just like a throwaway, and it goes through the roof. You just never know.
Yeah, for sure. So, Steve, what's the best way for our viewers to be able to keep up with you and to help support, should we be checking out your books? Should we be checking out the website? How do we keep up with you right now?
Well, the books are a little dated now, so, I mean, obviously I love people to pick them up and go to Amazon and look for the Pop Culture and Reefer Movie Madness books. The Reefer Movie Madness has about 600 movies. It obviously stops at about 2011, but honestly, probably the best stoner movies were made before 2011 anyway. So that book kind of covers, everything from Reefer Madness in the 30s up until 2011, around that time. Celebstoner.com is my website. It's a good place to sort of see what I'm doing. Facebook pages devoted to Celeb Stoner, Twitter page, Instagram, Steve Bloom at Facebook, or Steve Bloom Dude, if you really want to find me there. So I'm very active on Facebook because I like the conversation. I like Instagram, but it's mostly photo oriented for my taste, and you really can't link people back to your posts. So I try to get people's attention to come back to Celeb Stoner when I have something I think they might want to read. So it's just a combination of all the social media platforms, but you can find me multiple ways.
Excellent. Steve, we really appreciate you spending time with us today. We're really honored that you came on. And we hope someday to be able to have you back, and we hope to be able to run into you out there at some point. Maybe once, the stars align and there's an event or something that can get us out your way.
Yeah, I need that book.
That's right. Pick it up. Check it out.
Man, I'm going to have to read it.
Good to see you. And by the way,
it's an audio version of it?
No, you have to actually get a hard copy.
Oh, I don't have the.
Well, no, wait a second. I don't think Pop Culture has as an online, but Reefer Madness, Movie Madness does have a. You could read it on Amazon. But I also want to just make one point before I was leaving, and I wanted to kind of thank Eric and all the football players for bringing awareness to cannabis and CBD. I think a lot of the players have really done so much to open the door to people understanding that there's more to cannabis than even just THC. Though I love THC, it's good to know all the different cannabinoids. And in the latest issue of the complete guide, the next CBD guide, we have interviews with Marvin Washington, Eugene Monroe, Terrell Davis, all these players who are out there in the industry now doing things like you, Eric, having their own lines, being in the industry. So I just want to congratulate and thank you for everything you've done.
Thanks, man. Appreciate that. I don't feel like I did much, but I appreciate that. I think, it's cool that, athletes need to use their platform for something. And since we all are in the community and deal with a lot of children and stuff like that, we all need to use our platform to figure out ways to better the community. And cannabis and our activism is the best way for us to become, is our best ways to use our platforms to help people who don't have voices have a voice. And that's what we're all starting to realize, is that our voices do carry a lot of weight, and whether we like it or not, everything we say has an impact on somebody. So, that's the best thing for us all to do, is to even, whether you played in the league for 10, 20 years or whether you played in the league for 1 year, to get to that level is still an accomplishment. It's an accomplishment that a lot of players aren't going to be able to make. So, if you do come out of there with a platform, it's good to use it for something valuable like cannabis or, other activism activities.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for having me today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Steve. Take care. We'll see you soon.
Bye-bye.
Steve Bloom, everybody. Really appreciated having him on.
Definitely.
And I have a feeling like Steve, probably instead of me asking him questions, probably would have liked to talk to you a little bit more about football and stuff.
Oh, nah. He can hit me up at any time. He know that. I don't mind talking about football. I just get super into it, though.
And I'll also, you can thank me for not asking Steve.
Yeah, appreciate that,
to sing with you, because I was ready to do it. I was totally
not
about it.
Interested.
Steve, if you're still watching,
the
end of every show, Eric sings, and so there reached a point where I was like,
I just
hey,
wrote a
we're
fat
going a
roach
little
blunt.
late, like the guest is still on. And so, hey, guest, I don't remember who the first one was. Why don't you sing with Eric? And Eric was kind of surprised. Didn't really. I don't think he was. You weren't terribly pleased when I had done that, but it sort of has turned into a thing. And,
Yes, it has.
And so I don't know. I think Steve would have been a good sport about it. I think Steve would have sung, but I also think he would have been like,
Why
this is
am
the
I
weirdest
coming
show.
on
He
this
would have been like,
show?
I need a. He would have been like, this is why I need a PR person to like vet these opportunities out, make sure I'm not going on stupid shows.
Boy, these lights is making my hoodie hot.
Well, that said,
I'm sweating. I need to take
Is
this
everyone-
off.
if everyone,
I
so
need to take this off.
we were talking. I gotta loosen this tie. We were talking to Steve about how we don't consume on the show, but what we do at the end now is that we sing the song. So those of you that have your smoke ready, anyone that has their smoking stuff ready, if you are ready,
And if you ready to take your clothes off, take them off. In your house, not anywhere else.
in the comfort of your own home. What's up, Pearson? What's
Just
up,
like we
Pearson?
gonna light up this blunt,
up,
you
Hopper?
take out your do what you do. Eric got your blunt. I see. Oh yeah, give me that lighter. Give me the lighter, 'cause it's time to go. 'Cause it's time to smoke. 'Cause we don't wanna talk to y'all no more. And that's the end of the show.